Crucifix. A soft, pale light slipped through the small square window and spilled into the attic of Mrs. Duncan's rooming house. Will had to get around to putting the mattress on the floor. He hated the bed frame. It was as ancient as her. He didn't mind sleeping on the floor. There were no mice, cockroaches. He had grown used to the smell of urine in the bathroom and the smell of coffee and bananas in the kitchen. It was dark and damp outside. He got dressed and combed his hair. Rain is like memory, he thought. Memory is despicable. The past should die easily. He was terribly hungry. He had been fasting for quite some time. Every day he woke up, the first thing he thought about was food. But he wouldn't break the fast. He wanted to hit his mark. He had to get out of his room. He moved quietly past the dull green and white wallpaper. The stairs creaked. It was hard to be quiet. The kitchen had an east-facing window. He looked outside. He crept down the hall, intent on a morning walk to the lake. "Mr. Tobe," Mrs. Duncan said from the door to the parlor, which she opened quickly, surprising him. "Oh, hello. You're up early, Mrs. Duncan." "As are you, Mr. Tobe." "Yes, I was going to take my morning walk." "A morning constitutional is good for your serenity." "Yes, I like to start my day with them." "I was wondering, are you feeling okay?" "Yes. Top form, Mrs. Duncan. Why do you ask?" "Well, I can't help but noticing that you seem to be losing a lot of weight." "Ah, yes. I have been doing a lengthy fast, Mrs. Duncan." "A fast?" Yes. "And why would you do something like that?" "Well, it's just something that I wanted to try." Will didn't know how much he felt like saying. "Do you go to Mass, Mr. Tobe?" Please, call me Will." "Will." No, Mrs. Duncan, I've slipped from the church. I was taken as a child, but as a teenager I was given a choice to attend or not. It is a curious thing, you might be interested. My mother was a nun for a year before she got married. She was a Carmelite, they're a silent order. But after a year she felt that a family was her calling. My father met her before she went into the convent, and then when he heard she got out, he drove to the city she was in and proposed marriage right away. The comment really lit her up. He felt good, making her feel good. "You're very fortunate to come from such good stock, Will." He thought about the comment for a moment. He thought about the crucifix. He thought about the Jesuits. He thought about the history of Canada. He thought about the residential schools. The crucifix was the most marketed logo in the world, a Roman invention to suppress uprisings, a horrible death. What kind of an all-loving people would think something like that up, and then propagate it through the world, and then repeat it through the Jesuit incursion into Canada? He kept his thoughts to himself. There was no hiding from the truth when you were fasting. It took energy to bullshit yourself. Energy became very spare and precious when you were fasting. "I wonder if you'd like to attend Mass with me this morning, Will. It starts in a couple hours." Thank you, that's very kind, but no." "Well, we have a wonderful new priest, a young man like yourself. He's full of insight into your generation. I think he could bring you back to the church." "I don't know, Mrs. Duncan. It's just up the street. We could walk. I would so enjoy it if you'd come with me." He felt like he was out of options, so he agreed. "Okay," he said. "Wonderful. I will call up for you in a couple hours. It would please your mother, I'm sure, if you were to call her and tell her you had attended Mass." Will said that he would call her, but he had no intention of following through. Will opened the door, and he stepped out into the Sunday morning. There was a child across the street blowing soap bubbles. Mrs. Duncan saw the girl and said she shouldn't be left alone in this neighborhood. It was a chilling thought first thing on a Sunday morning. End of chapter.